It's another sit-down chat with Matt and Shelby. This one might be a little embarrassing, and we really wanted to show you guys how much we spent on our trip last year.
Well, we still don't know exactly how much we spent. That's kind of the point of this video. We don't have the number, in case you don't know what we're talking about. Matt and I are husband and wife.
Gross.
And we embarked on a huge adventure last year and traveled across the world for 7 months. Just kind of hopped from place to place, made our way to 20 different countries, I think, and also filmed it all here on our channel, so you can check out those videos.
And spent a lot of money and didn't keep track of it as well as we would have liked. Hence this video.
The gist of this video. So this is more of a reaction to what has already been done.
We understood that we had a budget that we were kind of sticking to and rough numbers, but neither one of us is super great with budgeting.
But we weren't paying for rent here anymore, and our rent felt pretty high to us. We just thought that we spend a decent amount living here, and we were trying to kind of keep it the same over there a little bit comparatively.
Well, of course, you're traveling, so you end up spending more because you're eating out more and you're paying for different types of transportation.
Or things that you didn't expect to pay for.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, more on that later. If you stick around until the end.
I think it's important to remember that it's in the past, and the memories that we made from it we will cherish forever.
Yes.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah. As we were planning this video, Shelby was like, man, we spent so much money on these other places and these things that came up and all this stuff. And yeah, but we've got to do this incredible adventure, and it's not lost on us that we're so lucky and blessed to be able to be in a position to even do something like this with jobs, and just everything fell into place perfectly. Let us know in the comments below if you want more in-depth breakdowns
on any
from
specific place.
Each place. So we stayed in Switzerland for 2 months. We stayed in Croatia for 2 months. Let's dive into it. I'm actually sort of nervous and curious to see how much we spent total. I have a rough number in my head. I'll let you know what it is right here. But I don't actually know if this is gonna be real or not. So let's find out.
Without further ado, this took me so long yesterday to go through all of our bank statements from both of our credit cards, as well as just trying to think of any other miscellaneous payments that we made. Because even things like cash, I'm like, how do I even calculate some of that? So with that being said, these might not be the perfect exact numbers because of things that get refunded, or things where, we met up with friends and they paid for something and we paid for something else, whatnot. But I did my best. I'm gonna go month by month and show you guys, and also my husband, what we spent, and I'll tell you where we stayed for that month. So before the trip, before we left last May, we spent $403, which is very low compared to all the other cards. But that was mainly just luggage and international driver's permits that you have to buy before you go and drive.
Oh, so these were expenses for the trip.
For the trip. Yeah, that's not all the money we spent in April.
Yeah.
No, it's things that we spent for the trip. So this was leading up to it.
Yeah.
Next was May. We spent $4,169, and I put which things are high and which ones are low comparatively. So we spent $1,519 on just transportation, which was high compared to other months, but that's because it was our trip getting there. That was a cross-Atlantic flight that we paid for to get to Switzerland.
Yeah. And one of those tickets was paid for through miles and points, right? With our credit card.
I think they normally were probably $2,000 or $3,000 or something. And so we did get a big bonus from signing up for our Chase Sapphire Preferred card, which helped us out a ton on all of these transportations. And if you want to sign up for yourself, we actually have a link below in the description where you can get a special bonus offer for signing up. Then we had a pretty low amount for stays, only $412. And that's mostly because we stayed with family in Switzerland. Yeah. But May also included Venice and Florence too.
That is surprising.
So that's really just Venice and Florence. It's $412. And
that's not bad at all.
Activities was low, $225, and that's especially considering all the Florence museums, the Venice museums, things like that. Food was also only $558 because we were staying with family.
Yeah.
And cooking a lot at home. We really didn't eat out in Switzerland at all.
Well, it's not lost on us that this bill would be a lot higher if we weren't staying with family in one of the most expensive countries in the world.
Yeah.
So, huge blessing for sure.
We didn't buy many souvenirs, only $68. And then our car was high because we were renting a car.
But for
It was
2 months, it was ridiculous.
high in comparison, but it was only $13.17 for that month. So even
Yeah.
though we had it for 2 months, that price includes like tolls and things like toll roads
Yeah.
costs as
The
you go.
autostrada.
The autostrada in Italy is actually kind of
an
expensive.
autogrill.
I know, I saw so many
forgot
charges for
about
autogrill. That is a hidden cost you gotta watch out for in Italy if you're driving. So next up was June. We spent $5,549. So that was up a little bit, but our transportation was down only $713
Okay.
for month of June, which we went to Verona in Lake Como. We went to Rome, Positano, and Salzburg all in that month, and we were
Wow.
in Switzerland. So that's aside from like car, but that's, you know, planes, trains, ferries, buses, all that. So that was pretty low. And then our stays were pretty high. It was $1,780. A big-ish chunk of that was probably Positano, which is just an expensive place to stay.
Totally
But
worth it.
It was
though.
still worth it. It was a great
Yeah.
place and highly recommend. Activities were up a little bit at $390.
What activities did we do that month?
We did a lot of tours in Rome, like the
That's
Vatican,
right, like the
Colosseum.
Forum.
Like I think that's honestly mostly the Colosseum tour.
Yeah, totally worth it. Though.
Maybe like the boat trip to Capri or like Ravello,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. Food was $16.65, which was kind of about average for us. Shopping was up, which I think was mainly because Verrazzano Winery in Tuscany, and with a few glasses in us, we decided it was a good idea to ship home a whole box of did we get 6 wines?
Yeah, 6.
Still worth it. I would definitely still do it, but when I was looking back at the transactions, it was like, oh, I forgot it was that much money. And then our car wasn't much that month because we'd already paid for it the month before.
So car was just gas?
Also with car is parking garages.
Yeah, basically anywhere you park you have to pay for it.
Okay, July was a more expensive month. We spent $9,747. But there's an important fee in here that we have to talk about because fees is up to $5,071, up from like the $21 fee one that we put
Oh
before.
man, is this what I think it is?
It is.
Well, there's no
Why don't
getting
you
around
come
to it.
clean?
In Switzerland and other countries, they just have speeding cameras, which is honestly way more effective.
So smart.
And what a great business model.
Basically, that fee that was that much was a couple speeding tickets that we were going maybe 60 miles per hour on like a highway where everyone else felt like they were going that speed. Then later found out that it was this little speed trap. Like it was like an area that everyone gets stuck in and always gets tickets at. But those are the types of things that you just have to like kind of be prepared for.
Yeah. Be a sensitive driver. If you're driving in a new country, don't be like me and just assume that the laws are the same.
It's okay. We've moved past it.
So that's why that was the most expensive.
So that month actually would have been a lot less. It would have been like $47 if it weren't for the speeding tickets, but that's okay. Transportation was up to $13.47 because of our flights home.
I think we only paid like half of basically because of miles and points.
Exactly. Stays were down. It was only $579. We were in Paris for like 5 days, and then we were in a different part of Switzerland where we did stay at a hostel with Ian. Then activities was also kind of down. Like we kind of just did a lot of hikes and a lot of free things. I feel like in Paris, free museums. Like we went to that one museum on the free day. Food was about average again, like $11.20. And then, as I mentioned, the fees were high. Shopping was also kind of high because of like preparing to come home. Like I think I bought my new bag that I was gonna bring for the second half of the trip.
Yeah.
And maybe you bought your new luggage too. It was something like that. So that's why that was high.
Yeah.
Then the car was $824, which was obviously higher than if you didn't have a rental car, but still good for the whole month considering like gas and also a rental fee that I think we had because we went too many miles. So
Yeah.
next up is a doozy. August. I think aside from the speeding ticket, this would probably be our most expensive month, maybe.
Well, that was like, no joke, the craziest month of my life.
The most fun.
Ever.
It was my favorite month I've ever lived.
Yeah.
And it felt like a year. We were just saying the other day that now it's almost August, and so we've lived 7 months, and it feels like it's been 1 month.
Like
This
time
year has
has
gone
felt
by
very
so fast.
This
And
year.
last year, August literally felt so long because we did so
Well, like
much
every
stuff.
other day we were like
so
doing
cool.
something else and going somewhere else. And
Yeah, it was definitely the most packed, the most expensive probably. It was at $9,618. The flight back, I accidentally missed it the first time. The flight to London, I missed it on our bank statements because it was $20 because we used your points. And I think that also had included at the time the flight home. But the transportation was high because we did a lot of flights that month. So especially like the flights to the Faroe Islands, the flight to Edinburgh, the flight to Dublin, like they all kind of
flights, I think probably the entire trip.
Stays was also one of the highest, was at 3,286. We did stay at one Airbnb for like 2 weeks in the English countryside, which we absolutely loved. But
Airbnb is just more expensive in general than finding like hostels and cheaper hotels and yeah.
But I will say, like, spending $3,200 on where you live for the month. Like right now we're looking at new apartments and that's literally the cost around here. So comparably, when you're staying in like the UK and hotels, and some of them were really nice, then like I think that's still a good deal. Activities was up a little bit, 615. That's when your parents were out there, so we were doing all the like Oxford, the museums, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. We're in England, you guys.
We're in England, you guys. Woohoo! Yay!
Gotta see all those Harry Potter locations.
Got to. Food was also up at 2,104, which
that's probably because mom and dad were out.
Because we were eating at a lot of restaurants. We weren't cooking a lot at home because we were staying in hotels. And then the car was high at $1,945 that month because we had three different rental cars. We had the one in the Cotswolds, the Faroes, and then we had the one in Ireland.
The Ireland one we were splitting with.
We were sharing, so that one wasn't as high. All right, next one, which I think I expected this one to be more, so I'm pleasantly surprised. I mean, it still feels high, but in September, we spent $6,429, which I feel like isn't that bad when you understand that we stayed in Santorini to start out that month.
3 days there.
Yeah, that takes up probably most of this total.
Yeah, that was like so ridiculous, but such a great time. Like, wouldn't have changed anything, but just know that place is so expensive.
Well, we're spending the big schmackos here.
We were staying in Ia, which is like the touristy of the touristy places.
But I feel like the food and stuff really wasn't that expensive.
No.
Like once you get there, and even the boat ride we took was like $200 for both, like total for both of us.
Yeah,
that was great.
And that was like one of the highlights of the trip, so you should definitely do a boat ride like that.
Transportation was super low because I booked our flight to Santorini with my points, and so total for that month was only $593, and that includes like the flights from Dublin that stopped in Zurich, went to Santorini straight there, didn't have to stop in Athens, then the flight back to Athens, then the flight to Croatia. So like all of those total were less than $600. Our stays were up because of Santorini, up to $3,757. But Santorini I think was like $1,000 or $1,200 of that. And the rest of it was mostly Croatia, which was like a month stay.
Yeah, next month, like we were basically in Croatia the entire time.
Croatia and Montenegro, and just wait to see this total.
Yeah, I'm sure it's just
shocking.
Like, goes down a bunch.
So yeah, this one we spent the most on stays for sure. Activities was average $367, and that's mostly the boat ride and like the, what's it called in Athens? The Acropolis?
Yeah.
Yeah, like the Acropolis, that sort of stuff. Walking on the walls in Croatia. Food was up to $16.86, and I think that's because we ate out a lot in Croatia. We didn't have a car, so that made it nice. All right, October plummets down to $2,561.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
We made money in October. Transportation was only $312, and I think that was probably like buses here and there, ferries.
We didn't have a car, which means that we didn't get to like tour Croatia. I think like that's something we still really want to do.
And even Montenegro. I think that we both agreed in hindsight that we would have, that's another video, but that we would have loved to have a car in these places, which would have made it a little more expensive. But
it was so great to not have to worry about like, we were so exhausted from August and like a lot of September that it was so nice to just not go anywhere. And like, there were definitely stir crazy moments when you like just do nothing. And be in one place.
Our stays were down for the whole month. It was only $839 for the entire month, which is crazy. That's three different places technically, because we stayed in the Croatia Airbnb for most of it, and then we had that like little stint in the small place in the city, and then we had our Kotor Airbnb. So that was super affordable. And then activities was also down only $254. So that's like little museums here and there. The museums were so cheap, walking the walls. And then food was also down only $11.52. And we were still eating out a good amount. We didn't have any fees that month, and we only spent $4 in shopping, which I think was probably the ornament that we got from Couture.
Nice.
So October was great. November got a little higher. It was 4,502, but still, I think,
Well, I
feel
mean,
like
family was in.
Andrew and Maddie visited. We also went to a lot of places in November. That was
Yeah.
just a lot of movement, but transportation was still low at 682. And so that's really just the flight from Kotor to Prague, and then the trains from like Prague to Budapest and Budapest to Vienna, Vienna to Berlin, the overnight train too. So all of that combined under $700. Our stays were also lower at $1,142. And I feel like all the places we stayed were so affordable that last stretch in November, where like Prague was so affordable for a
Yeah.
whole, I think we stayed for like 8 days.
Yeah.
It was so
It was a
cheap.
massive
and it was
apartment.
huge. It was
Yeah.
so big, you could fit more people in there. And Budapest also was really cheap for that apartment, and it was in a great location. And Berlin, oh, the Berlin apartment was so
That was
cool.
probably
so
one of the coolest
affordable.
stays.
The fact that we stayed all those places for that cheap is insane to me. Activities were a little higher at $439, and that's because we were doing more sightseeing, and especially since it was so cold out, I feel like we were doing more indoor stuff. We
Yeah.
had to pay for things.
Fees for museums, tours.
Food was pretty average, $13.60. The food, I feel like, especially in Prague, was so cheap. Like all the places we ate out there were so affordable.
Yeah.
The shopping was up to $519, and I was like, what did we shop for? And then I realized that was when we redid our whole wardrobe.
Yeah.
So all the charges were like H&M, Zara.
Yeah, well, that's the beauty of living out of a carry-on suitcase. You don't have much stuff, but then that's also the curse.
If you're
and
gone
especially
long
like
enough.
weather-wise, because we basically traded out all our Croatian swimsuits and everything for all
For
the
winter coats.
Yeah,
You ready?
yeah,
December we spent $5,656. So a little bit lower than like the higher months in the middle. It was a little more than November, but we did go to a lot of places. Transportation was the highest this month because it was our flight home, and we actually ended up switching where we would fly out from. So we did get a partial refund that we haven't used as like credit yet, but we had to book in full new tickets for going home from Brussels. So that was the bulk of that. Stays was about average $1,640, which isn't very much for the month. Activities was down at only $330. We did do some museums and palaces and things that final month. And like
Yeah.
Bruges, we did a lot of activities. But we did some free things too. Food was up at $12.83, so a little bit more expensive. Which
staying
granted,
inside.
we ate out a
staying
lot,
warm.
and we didn't really cook at home much because we were staying for short periods of time in hotels. And then shopping was up a little bit, $162 for the Christmas markets.
The Christmas
It was
markets.
definitely the
so
Christmas
many
markets.
Christmas markets.
That was all the souvenirs. Should we do the grand total? You want to do the honors?
Sure.
Okay.
All right, drum roll, please. Our total for the entire trip last year was $48,634 for 7 months of travel.
Let me see.
So on average, we were spending $7,000
roughly
a month,
$7,000 a month.
which is
Higher than we
High.
probably wanted to. The speeding ticket is part of the trip, so I don't
That's
want to
true.
act like it's not
That's
part
true.
of it. But that really brought the total up.
that's a big number.
How do you feel about that?
I mean, it's definitely more than we would have spent here, but how much more? Probably not.
Probably a
ton
couple grand per month.
Yeah, which obviously adds up, but you can't put a price on adventure. Actually, you can. We just did.
This is the price
But
of
it is,
adventure.
yes, but totally worth it.
Like $7 grand a month sounds kind of like a lot, I feel like, but that's for two of us,
Yeah,
and that's like all that we're doing. So that's not like in addition to like a rent or a mortgage or food here, or I don't know.
yeah,
like,
that's everything included.
so that's really like $3,500 for a month of travel per person, which I feel like is pretty good. Like
Yeah.
if you're someone who likes to go on vacations, like you're probably gonna spend at least that much on
Yeah.
like a 2-week vacation, let alone a month. So
Yeah, had we known differently, we might have made different decisions, but at the end of the day, we had an incredible trip, and
we weren't trying to like handcuff ourselves.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
we were trying to be frugal with the day-to-day stuff, like reaching for the cheaper groceries at the store, or like not spending a ton of money on an excursion if if it felt like it was out of our price range. But we also weren't denying ourselves a ton of like, okay, well, we have to stick to this budget. We can't go over this. We can't eat out tonight. We have to like find something in our pantry or whatnot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in that sense, I'm not really surprised.
I thought it was a little bit lower than it was. So that was a little surprising. But what an incredible journey and what a cool experience to bring you guys on. Thanks for following along. If you haven't already and you want to see more of this type of breakdown, let us know in the comments below. And we'll do a more technical breakdown of maybe places that we spent more time at and stuff like that. And
like ways to save money, ways to like cut costs while traveling.
And other than that, we'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for joining.